All right, and we're back. Look, I kind of fixed the chat display. Now at least I can read it across the shop. It's kind of a nice thing. And I think I fixed the camera. Well, the main camera. We'll see. I totally expect it to go ahead and shit out on me. So during my hour break, I took our wood, I cut it down, and now I've got it epoxied to my liner material. Liner material isn't necessary, but I really think, I'm using some yellow liner material. I think that's going to look great with the dark grays, the dark browns, and the blacks in the Cerakote. So I'm just giving it a few minutes. I wanted to set up a little bit more. I got my brass pins cut. All I need to do right now is, as soon as that's done, or at least ready, I'm going to take it over to the scroll saw. You guys won't be able to see that, but I'm going to trim it out very quickly on the scroll saw, and then I'm going to get one of the sides epoxied onto our knife, and from there, well, we'll just take it as it goes. It's probably going to be about half an hour of waiting on epoxy to set up and cure. But I'm going to try to mix it a little heavier on the hardener and a little bit less on the resin. So for the sake of live streaming, that should give us a little bit more flow. Hopefully we can get some of you guys joining us back again. Otherwise, it's just going to be me sitting here for half an hour or so, asking myself questions. Seriously though, like in in all honesty, this has been really cool. I didn't expect anyone to come in and start chatting when I first started streaming that, or all this stuff this week, and I don't know. I think this is kind of a neat idea, and I'm glad that I'm able to share it with you guys. It's kind of like taking a class with me here at the shop, except now you guys are basically subject to what I want to talk about. When you're here at the shop, you're paying for it, so I pretty much answer everything that you ask for. Although I think I'm going to start streaming certain parts of our classes here in the shop. I think that'd be kind of neat. I just need to make sure that I have permission from everybody. But that's fine. Like on our weekend classes, I probably wouldn't start streaming until after our lunch break, regardless. Get the whole forging portion, not the introduction portion of the class on a Saturday. I'm just going to check the mixing stick that I use because that still has some epoxy on it. Still feels a little rubbery. I'm not saying that I can't do what I need to. However, I wouldn't mind it sitting up just a little bit more. I'll be right back. So right now I have everything sandwiched between two large plates of 1095 steel. The grade of steel does not matter. I would severely hope that no one would actually think that it does. So this is our liner material, and I've actually epoxied the wood for the scales onto it. Now I'm going to walk behind the camera here and I'm going to trim these out very quickly on this roll saw. So I got all those trimmed out. I had to step away for a minute. My trailer was getting returned. So what I'm doing is I'm lining these up. I'm actually going to clamp them together. Tighter than that. Now I'm just going to trim up a section of these. This week at some point, I need to utilize my CNC table. I need to make a sign for the front door of the shop that says on air. So I occasionally get people just stopping by. But, you know, in order to warn them to not like walk in and say something stupid. It'd be kind of nice to have a sign out front that said, hey, I'm on air. So, got that all cleaned up. That's the portion I'm worried about. Now I'm gonna hit the insides of the liner here just to clean them up. Just taking some dirt off the book. So one of these, I'm just going to keep underweight. With the liner material, it tends to be really sensitive as far as humidity goes. And I've actually seen it pull off and warp. And that's not something I want to have happen with this knife, so we're going to basically keep it underweight, and that way that shouldn't happen. Screw it. Let's think outside the box. I'm gonna epoxy this side on first. Now this is my resin, so I'll go a little lighter on that. Heavier on the hardener. Make sure it's mixed nice and thoroughly. Because I'm going to have a little bit extra here, go ahead and fill in these cracks. Sure that I have a few clamps. I want to be careful with my left hand here because I have raw epoxy just kind of flowing over it. Lining it up where it needs to be. Yes, Jeremy, we definitely make all them their knives. But perhaps you're more interested in our $45 collection from Pakistan. Oh, knives, yes. I didn't pay attention to that video. I was looking at the small one up in the corner. So now you can, I have no idea why it's freezing up, but I'm using a beta version of a webcam driver for my DSLR. So I apologize for the, what do you call that? Just the unprofessionalism of using a crappy camera that costs several $100s. How's your day going, Jeremy? Did you have a class today? You know, Jeremy, if you wanted to drink with me, you should have just left Gettysburg and come up here. Still working on that spy hander. I was telling people about it in the previous stream. But I'm so glad that you're here to drink with me. And I'm sure you're going to send any inside jokes to my cell phone. This is the most boring part of knife making. You already know that. I am literally going live with epoxying handles onto a knife. Like, this is not how you get 100,000 views. I understand now why Forged in Fire does not go live, why it's all edited a lot. But I can't afford a producer or an editor or whatever else they have. Like catering. Catering would be really awesome. I know those of you who have been here to my classes, you're like, well, you're the caterer, aren't you? Sometimes. That's only for the classes I really, really, really like. If I just like you, maybe not. It's just so hard to, like, make food for everybody's tastes and everything else. It was so much easier when I ran a restaurant. Oh, thank you, Jeremy. Pizza would be awesome. I thought about ordering pizza tonight. Then I realized you like that I walked away? I actually thawed out some scallops tonight for dinner, so. Yes, you're right, Jeremy. I need to make a live cooking show. You and Tim have both now said that. By the way, make sure that when you're epoxying your handles on, you don't epoxy the mixing stick to the table. So, Jeremy, I wonder how long it's going to be before certain other people that we know are trying to do this live streaming thing. This is stuff that we talked about in person, but... Oh, what the fuck? This is why I have the not safe for work tag on my channel. We're appropriate for ages 18 and over. You're right, Jeremy. Glory is forever. I don't know. It takes a little bit more than just a camera sitting around. I mean, it may not look like it, and for all the technical problems I have, you know, there is some technical knowledge that goes into being able to do this. And yes, Jeremy, you can say that. Again, I have both my Twitch channel and my YouTube channel marked as 18 plus. Mainly because I don't want kids playing with fire. I think that would be irresponsible. So, Jeremy, what are you drinking tonight? tequila over ice with a splash of mango. That sounds absolutely delicious. And by the way, I do agree with your previous comment. I don't think we're going to see Live from the Forge in Palmyra anytime soon. At least not with quality. And I'm not saying I have quality right now. Besides, they should find another shtick. You know, someone's already doing the live stuff in Hershey. 5 miles down the road. Why duplicate? Try to originate. Alright, so let's see what we got going on here. Nope, it's still sticky. Both the stick and the epoxy. The stick is sticky for one reason, the epoxy is sticky for another. There you go, that's my dad joke for the whole live stream. Probably won't be the only one. Even my 5-year-old daughter would groan at that. So, Jeremy, let's see that Spyhander. Send me a text. I'll pull it up on screen here. We'll show everyone what you're working on. In the immortal words of Emilio Estevez while playing Billy the Kid, I'll make you famous. That's not true at all, by the way. I was actually trying to figure out how to bring like cell phone calls into the live stream. So maybe next week I'll actually be able to have you as a guest on a phone call. I know I could do it over Zoom right now, but see, we could forge together while being miles apart. At first I thought that gluing stuff up or epoxying stuff up live on stream would be a really bad thing. And then I came across this whole thing. Did you know that there's actually people who live stream themselves sleeping? And it's really only slightly more boring than what I'm doing. Like, you get to watch them drooling all over themselves, their faces getting stuck to pillows. This at least feels a little bit more like still being at fair. Ooh, Jeremy sent me a picture. Look at this, guys. See if I can get this just right. Look at that Spyhander he's working on. That's beautiful. Jeremy, how big is that? Like, what's the overall dimensions? And what I meant by being a fair is a lot of times when I was doing demonstrations, it was a lot of empty talking to people who were just drinking beer. Of course, I was drinking beer as well. Say about another minute on that epoxy. Ooh, 42 inches of 80 CRV2. So you've got a 17-inch handle on that? Well, close. 17 inches plus pommel crossguard, or minus that. Did you do the cool little thing with the steel ring and overlapping in leather? Oh, it's going to get shorter, huh? I bet you tell all the girls that. No, it's fine. That's a really good public service announcement. It's like, if you plan it ahead of time, they don't get disappointed. God, I swear, if somebody actually tries to listen to this, like, as a podcast, this is going to be bad. Because they have no idea what you're actually saying, Jeremy. Who cares? I'm going to be doing this anyway. So I might as well broadcast it. Ooh. I like that card. You know, the fact that you got a welder has really, it's been exemplified. And you're cleaning up your welding anyway. I don't know about your welding skills, but the cleaning up of your welds is looking great. I don't know that I'm actually allowed to say that out loud. And yes, we are far more entertaining. Jeremy, do you have Zoom? Because if you do, I'll bring you into the live stream here. You can just set your phone down on a workbench, keep on doing what you're doing. We can yell at each other. I don't think anyone else is watching. Of course, this is being recorded onto YouTube, so there is a potential audience of like 7.2 billion. You know, you can just download it on your phone. That'd be funny. Do this. Incorporate Jeremy live into my live stream. Quite frankly, it would be a lot more entertaining. I've been trying to get him down here to the shop this past week for live streaming in the first place. Jeremy, you need to come down this Wednesday. Jeremy, I don't want to talk about, like, depressing things. If I would have known that, I would have ordered double lavalier mics. That way you could broadcast with me. Oh, dude, I would love to have you sitting at a table commenting on everything I did. That means I only have to talk like a third of the amount that I already am. It's okay that you can barely walk. I have a cowboy hot tub. You can go ahead and jump in that. Okay, it's actually just a stock trough. But the water's normally warm as long as it's a hot day out. And I can give you a straw and you can make all the bubbles you want. So now that this epoxy is mostly set up, and you'll notice I have a healthy margin. I don't know if you can see that. The yellow, I think, kind of stands out a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and drill my pinholes. So now that I have the holes drilled, I'm going to go a lot heavier with the hardener. Grab a fresh mixing stick. Jerry, I swear I'm going to read all that stuff as soon as I get done doing this, but I'm very single-minded at the moment. Just lining everything up. So far, so good. Looks like everything is lining up as I wanted. I'm going to have to take a little bit off the tail end of this tang. But that's really because it bothers me, not because it's anything functional. Okay. Yes, Jeremy, you're absolutely correct. I do graze upon the fermented wheat beverage. And the fact that you can watch me doing this live on YouTube, I mean, come on. It'd be different, I guess, if I was, you know, slamming beers back and forging stuff, but I don't know. God, would that make me a drunken Smith? Maybe the original. Everything else is just a copy. A poor facsimile, I believe, is how you probably put it. I'm not going to go far into that whole conversation. William! Welcome! Thanks for joining the chat. Sorry, I moved all the cameras around, so I don't know my positioning. I didn't mark anything on the floor. My producer, Jeremy, is drinking tequila about 40 miles away, and he's giving me direction over YouTube chat. So it's his fault that I'm not on my mark. Well, we kind of fixed a few audio and video problems. At least I think. I have no idea. I'm going to end up watching this tomorrow morning and be like, what the hell was that? Drink faster? I'm trying to drink faster, Jeremy. But unfortunately, you're not here live in the shop to be that positive influence that I need. It's alright, Nate jumped on here earlier. My first broadcast today, Nate jumped on, said hi, and then left. As he always does. You know, Jeremy, I believe in you as well. Because I believe in happy little accidents. And one of these days, your mom and I are going to sit down and have a conversation with you. About happy little accidents. I'm sorry, that was so wrong. So let's look at our epoxy. I think it's still got a ways to go. Definitely. So, William, how's life in eastern Pennsylvania? Was it a good day over there? Here in central PA, it looked like it was going to rain all day, but it didn't. The only really nice thing is, it was like 79 today. Quite frankly, I can't wait until it hits like 49 every day. Am I the only person that actually enjoys going to work when it snows? I mean, believe it or not, and I know this is kind of a weird stretch, but when it's like 100 degrees outside, I really don't like firing up the forge and going to work. Oh man, I wish we would have had a little bit of rain. My bell peppers and tomatoes could really enjoy it. I guess our fun German friends, they were here about an hour ago. It's just, it's funny to find out that I'm starting to gain a German following. That's like international. William, I don't blame myself at all either. I just happen to love it when it's snowing outside and I can go to work. Because while it might be 30 degrees outside, I'm perfectly happy with it being 62 inside the shop. Jeremy, I totally agree. I've actually thought about moving the heat treat oven inside the office. That way I don't have to pay for propane. Prima Germanicus? Was that the thing that was set in like 1035 AD? Along with like Prima Noctrum? Prima Germanicus. I've never heard that term before, but I will have to do some research. Sorry, what was it? Prima Noctum? You're the German, or you're the Latin scholar there, Jeremy. I am not. First night, I believe is how it translates, but obviously you can see that I'm not Googling anything with my phone. Woohoo! We've received 100 messages today. Now we just need another 100 followers. But that'll come if I just keep on doing this. Because people are going to get bored. I mean, let's face it, you're sitting inside your house and you've got nothing else to do. I'd be laying on my couch right now watching Netflix, but I should be doing some work. I don't even have a customer for this particular piece. I think the customer is actually me. Again, going back to my daughter's obsession with fresh tomatoes from our garden, and the fact that I just don't like the way any of my commercially made knives, which, by the way, I use commercially made knives at the house because I have a 5-year-old daughter and I have a 20-year-old son, neither of whom would actually appreciate the fact that Dad made these knives and it took him hours of his life to do it. They'll appreciate it when I'm dead and gone. But they won't appreciate it when it comes to cleaning up after themselves and washing them and oiling them and taking care of them. Of course, my son only ever makes macaroni and cheese, so aside from cutting butter, I don't think there's ever a reason why he needs a knife. I'd say about another minute or so on that epoxy, and I should be able to drill through the other side. Again, this is the boring part of knife making. Jeremy, you know, because, well, you do it, and hell, you used to work for me, so you know my method. I'll be back in just a minute. It's kind of funny. I just stepped outside and I've got a cell phone tower. It's up about 150 feet, and it's one of those Verizon things that they pay money for. But I was looking at the tower and there's two eagles perched on top of the antennas. Apparently nature adapts. And they're okay with 5G. Okay, so seems like the epoxy's holding. I'm just going to go down through these three holes. So something loosened up on me while I was doing that. So I'm going to be smart about the rest of this. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm being brilliant. I am just going to put a pin in here. Yeah, William, it's cool to see them perched on top of a cell phone tower. Like, who would have thought they're just hanging out in my backyard? I just want to put those pins in before I drill this last hole, just to make sure that everything's all lined up. There we go. Now everything looks good. So I'm just going to give this a quick clamp. And we're going to let it sit for another minute or so. And I'm not trying to go like, I don't want to go overtly tight. I just want to make sure that everything's all lined up. And I know that my epoxy's still a little soft yet. You know, William, I gotta say, I love watching the Eagles. However, every time that I renew my fishing license and I get a trout stamp, I do refer to that as the Eagle feeding stamp. Because I haven't even gone out trout fishing at all this year. I only paid the extra $9 in case I catch a trout. I'd like to be able to keep it. But 9 times out of 10, I'll be sitting out on my kayak, sitting there on like a reservoir or on a lake. And, you know, I sit there and I watch the Eagles and the Ospreys coming down and catching these, like, giant, 18-inch trout. The kind that never bite anything that you have on your hook. So, yeah, I pay $9 a year to make sure that I support Eagles and Ospreys. Yes, Jeremy, you're right. We are living it up at the Hotel Pennsylvania. You can check out anytime you like. But you have to check with us as far as the schedule goes, whether or not you're allowed to leave. Just a tad softer than I like with this epoxy coming out around the spine. A lot of times, if I wasn't doing this live, I'd actually prefer to let it sit 24 hours or even 48 hours. But in class, we really only have about 45 minutes. And so mixing it becomes a little bit, I pay a lot more attention to the ratios when we're mixing, and because I want it to harden faster, get into position a lot faster. But when I'm doing stuff on my own here in the shop, I don't care if it takes 48 hours. A lot of times I would prefer to take a 2-day break and then come back to the piece. unfortunately, my camera froze again. Again, I'm using this this beta utility from Nikon. They're only a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar company, so you can't expect them to get it right on their first try. Even though companies like Sony and Canon and a whole bunch of just independent hackers have also gotten it right. I just figured it was the best thing to use the official drivers from the company that I bought the camera from. Yeah, well, if you have the time, let it set. Epoxy, regardless of whether it's 15 second, 30 second, 1 minute, 5 minute, 30 minute, or hour epoxy, or 24-hour epoxy, it still takes time to cure. I would not. If I wasn't rushed for time and trying to keep things very consistent, anywhere between 48 and 72 hours would be what I would just let it go for. And so when you're thinking about, quoting something, don't tell someone that you're going to have it done for them in 3 weeks. Tell them you're going to have it done for them in 6 weeks. And then when you get it done in 7, well, it is what it is, But just, I think overquote everything and overestimate the amount of time, and then you don't feel rushed about it. But regardless, epoxy is a chemical reaction. It has absolutely nothing to do with drying time. It's not glue. Glue requires drying time. Epoxy is a part A, part B chemical combination, and it takes 24 hours minimum for that to actually set. So even though it sets up in, well, they say like 5 minutes, which is the epoxy that I'm using right now, even still, that 5-minute epoxy, I still think is more like 12 to 17 minutes. But the curing time, regardless of how long it takes to quote-unquote set up, is still at least 24 to 36 hours. Yeah, I think Jeremy actually just sent me a text message that he didn't want to post here in the live chat. You're absolutely correct, sir. She is. There you go. Now the whole world has a wonderful mystery at our expense. I mean, I plan on finishing this piece today. I will probably end up even using it later on tonight, just because I want to. But a lot of times I would really prefer letting this set until Wednesday or Thursday. I hope that's not too loud for you guys. which bandsaw, Jeremy? So, you know, I've got one here. And as a matter of fact, I've got a bunch of blades for them too. Yeah, I've still yet, like, I've never bought anything by Rikon. And I know that they're doing a bunch of stuff as far as, like, the milling machines are essentially the same as Grizzly, Harbor Freight, Sieg. It's just, you know, I've never bought one, so I don't know what their expected shelf life is. Which is a damn shame, because they actually have something they call a microplaner. And it's essentially a wood planer, except it's only meant to do pieces that are like 5 inches wide. And it looks awesome. But they want to charge, I think, like $900 for it. And I just can't justify it. And by the way, Jeremy, I'm not going to, like, tout this or anything. However, I had the Harbor Freight version of a horizontal bandsaw with the oil cooling and everything else. It worked freaking great. Where are you buying them instantly in person? Like, I always thought that Rikon was a lot bigger in the UK than it was here in the States. But if we have a Rikon dealer near us, I'll try something. Really, Woodcraft sells them. That's kind of crazy. So, essentially, Woodcraft is now selling Rikon and Jet, which are made in the exact same factory. So, I'm going to go ahead and smooth this out. Biggest thing here is that we don't want to overheat this spine. We don't want to soften up that epoxy. That's good to know, Jeremy. I also don't want to burn the wood. I am a little bit. something I can't deal with by hand sanding. So I'm just trying to take this wood down to the metal. Once I get it to a nice clean surface, I'm not going to mess with it anymore. So far, we're looking fairly good. So I want to deal with this area right here. Oh, let me drop that a little lower. So right in here. One of the things I love about this wood is I don't need to wear a respirator to actually work with it. Now I'm just giving this wood some shape. And the overall shape of this is not bad as it is. However, it's kind of amateurish. So what I'm doing right now is I'm rolling it around my hand, and I'm feeling where certain things can be taken care of. William, as far as addressing your question, things have changed over the years. And the more arthritic my hands become, my opinion of comfort has changed an awful lot. Right now, what I'd like to do is I want to make this a lot more ergonomic. I want to taper this bottom edge, this trailing edge. I want to taper that down just because of how my fingers, how my hands naturally, the shape they naturally form. So that's what I'm going to go for next. I'm just trying to rough this out. You don't ever want to finish the piece or the 2x72. That's just a lot of anal retentive behavior when you can probably see a psychiatrist stuff. sanding is a perfectly acceptable way to finish this out. The big thing is that we're roughing out what needs to be taken care of with, 36 grit or 60 grit. And then I'm going to go to hand sanding on everything else. Now, this wood actually is very, very hard. But yeah, a lot of my opinion as far as the shape goes is actually based on my customers. You gotta listen to them for a few years at shows when they say, boy, I really wish this would feel better this way. Well, then you do a couple of them that way. I'm not saying you bet the bank on it, but you still listen to their opinion. We're going to go a little outside the box. Just roughing it out. I apologize if I'm ignoring messages. Quite frankly, I'm not reading them right now. Got a nice shape to it. Feels really, really comfortable. Now I don't normally have students do this in class, but I'm going to hit it with the 80 grit. Only because I don't think I'm going to end up wasting a belt at this. And when I have students in here, I'd much rather just give them a sheet of 80 grit paper and say, here, see what you can do with it. I think that's pretty good. I like the feel of it. I really like the way that it fits into the contours of my hand. More importantly, I don't think it's going to end up cramping up my hand if I'm using it for a long duration of time. It's not a handle that I feel that I have to grip like super tight. And that's where that fatigue's going to come from. So now I think I'm ready to go ahead and hand sand this. Jeremy, you gotta listen to the right belt sander. I promise you, all that you're gonna hear from me is gonna be hand sanding, so. As a matter of fact, against my better judgment, I'm gonna go grab one more beer. This is a good time. Jeremy, we really need to figure out how to, like, Zoom conference all this stuff together. You're absolutely right. That Grizzly sounds a lot different than most other 2x72 grinders. But, you know, I've got 3 of them, so I would definitely miss the sound if it wasn't here. Jeremy, I insist, you should have another tequila. Make sure you mix it with mango, maybe some lime. This Cerakote is such a wonderful wood. Jeremy, our buddy TJ thinks this is like the most gorgeous wood in the world. I'm not going to say that he's wrong. Here, I guess I should change this camera around a little bit. So I'm going to end up sitting down here on the anvil. Yeah, I did that knife for him, Jeremy. He gave to, I guess, the editor of Lancaster County Magazine, who ended up being quite the twat. I don't mind saying that because it's been 2 years since he's gotten that knife, and he never even said fucking thank you. You want me to zoom in on the sanding? Really? Because this is kind of boring, Jeremy. Unless you're just trying to, like, get me to do this because you don't want to feel left out. In which case, I totally understand. Oh, that's right, you were there. That was a great little chef's knife. Okay, it actually wasn't a little chef's knife either. Now, like, I just don't have time for self-entitled pricks. I think everyone needs to understand that they all came from somewhere. And the only reason why they should be where they are today is based on their own merit. William, I don't think I have a class date for tomorrow. I really hope I don't have a class date for tomorrow. Because I have a 5-year-old tomorrow. Now you're making me wonder. Damn it, now I gotta look at my phone. If I do, thank God I actually got all the supplies. I do not have class again until August 20th. And yes, Jeremy, you're right. That knife was beautiful. And quite frankly, people should call him out on that shit. He's some kid that went to like Lancaster Country Day. His parents gave him everything. And now he just expects that the whole world just gives him shit. But he really needs to be appreciative of the people that make his business possible. And maybe I'm just venting. But still, it's bullshit. Now, William, before I actually say anything about that date, tomorrow's not the 20th, right? Yes, this Thursday, I think I have a 2-day class. Thursday and Friday. And I believe I have spots open for it. I do not remember. Quite frankly, every day runs into the other. If it wasn't for Alexa, I don't even think I'd know what day it was. But if you want to come join me, my God, we'll live broadcast this shit all over the internet. Or not, it's all up to you. You know, we really need a hand sanding machine. Jeremy, get on inventing that. And by the way, if William comes up this Thursday, then Jeremy, you have to be here on Thursday. That way he can actually meet the man behind the myth. Bring tequila. Oh. This Cerakote is such a hard wood. Like, it's absolutely gorgeous once you're done sanding it. But it's the whole, what you actually have to do to get it sanded. This is the reason why I actually, I don't let students use this in class. It's not because it's extremely expensive or anything. It's just I know what it does to abrasives. And I know, like, how it can actually, like, it's going to knock you down a peg or two. And you're like, well, I've sanded pine, I've sanded, spruce, I've sanded this, that, whatever. Yeah, but when you start sanding a wood that's as hard as this, you're going to feel like everything is wrong with you. Like right now, I've got this one area where, man, this, like, I've definitely dug in a little bit too deep. So I'm trying to blend it out. It's rough. I'm not gonna lie. Awesome, William. We'll see you on Thursday and Friday. Jeremy's going to bring tequila. Let him know if he needs to bring anything else. Almost there. I swear to God, I can taste victory. Okay, it's an absolute lie. This wood is such a bear. The other big problem is that it just heats up in your hand. You can feel the heat through the sandpaper. You're like, ow, that's hot. Still, though, this wood is absolutely gorgeous. Like, I really wish I used this a lot more. But I'm also glad, based on the expense of the abrasives, that I don't use this as often as I could. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I can't remember if Thursday, what is it? Is that a one-day class? If it's a one-day class, it's an awful lot of fun of I'm working your ass on forging. Like, you're going to know how to move some metal after that class. it's a 2-day class, which means I'm gonna work here with a lot of science. You're actually gonna have to learn something, Bill. Hope I'm allowed to call you Bill. My dad was a Bill, so everybody tries to call me William, which is why I make an emphasis on just calling me Jay. Not that I don't like the name. I just hate it when they shorten it. And also, my first name is actually just the letter J. And people see William after that, and so they just default to calling me Bill or William. And I'm like, that's not my name, it never was. So Jeremy, are you going to join us? I promise I'll make you a salad. Because you don't eat real food, right? Unless it's like rice and chicken. I forget what kind of weird diet you're on. I'm on a, I'm making my inner fat kid happy diet. So, William, are you okay if we broadcast your class live? If so, I mean, I'll make sure that we get the cameras all set up correctly, and we'll make you look awesome. Oh God, this is so elongated. Like, Jeremy, I really wish I had some bourbon right now. I wouldn't even mind if you were here and giving me scotch. I mean, granted, that's a lot of a stretch. But I guess I could actually stomach scotch if you were here, Jeremy. I just didn't know that your people were allowed to drink scotch. You gotta bring that spy hander by, though, if you're gonna stop by, Jeremy. Bill deserves to see that giant fucking sword. Seriously, brother, you got some awesome talent? I mean, I think that your talent is really awesome, but I think your tenacity and your willingness to just work through hours and hours of mundane bullshit. Yeah. Like, I have 2 ex-wives that you probably could have survived being married to. Just saying. Knowing how much of a glutton for punishment you are. that's starting to look really good. And most importantly, it's all about like how it feels in the hand. You know, I want it to be an extension of my hand. There's other people that make tools that fit in your hand. I want it to just kind of flow with everything that's already there. Yeah, this is going to be really nice. I can't wait to murder a few tomatoes with this. My daughter will make me do that. By the way, Jeremy, William says bring the sword. I think he very quietly said bring scotch or tequila as well. This is just so nice to be able to do this. Like, I'm going to be in the shop working regardless, but it's so nice to have people that are bantering with me, and, you know, you guys are really making it seem not so lonely, so I'm very appreciative of your existence. The tequila won't survive. I will buy a bottle of tequila for Thursday, though. Although, I really should not drink tequila. However, Bloody Marias would be kind of nice. And I have been talking about doing tequila lime chili fruit roll-ups. So that'd be kind of cool. Let's see, what do we need next? Need to find some 220 grit. Or actually, I need to find some 150 yet. Let's refine it just a little bit more before I step up. There's just a couple of spots here that they're kind of annoying me, but this Cerakote is such a hard wood that even though you're sitting there for minutes and sometimes half an hour at a time, and then you look at it and you're like, well shit, that didn't do much. That's when you take a break. You have a couple of sips of beer, and then you move on. You know, it's not time to get disheartened. Man, that wood looks so great, though. Like even at 150 grit, it's really starting to show a lot of the contrast between the grain of the wood. Yes, William, you're right. It's all about the art of consumption. As a matter of fact, Jeremy and I have made that into a lifestyle. When I first met Jeremy, he was a bartender. When Jeremy first met me, I was a former bartender. So luckily, we had a few things in common. Yeah, this is one of those things though, this whole hand sanding thing. Like, you can't discount it. If you're not going to put the time in, like, you can try to do it with a machine, but it's not going to, the potential for it, like, just screwing things up is so much higher than by doing it by hand. And so I think if you're not willing to just take it to 36 grit and then sand it by hand to give that absolute look of completion to it, I don't know. I mean, I question why you're doing it. But right now, I'm just seeing how all these different veins and the grains in this wood are coming out, and wow, it's just beautiful. And yes, Jeremy, I know that I should have a camera, like a high-def camera, on what I'm sanding right now, but I don't. One of these days, I'll be able to afford one. I'll get like a microscope or something that I can sand underneath. That'll look really cool when I slice my hand open. Oh, there we go. Just kind of, I'm bending the paper to hit the contours on this. Another nice thing to have right now would be some, what do they call it, tacky cloth or tack cloth? William, we'll allow you into our club on a temporary admission basis. God, we don't want to scare you away. We really don't. No, actually, I looked when you said that, and yes, I do have a class that's coming Thursday that's available for booking, and quite frankly, if you sign up, right now, you're the only one, so it's super one-on-one, which is really cool. I just happen to have the time free, so I might as well utilize it, right? I'm not going to tell the entire internet this, but I do really enjoy, when I just have one student. Shit, I just told the entire internet that. Oh, well, back to the drawing board. The feel of this knife now in my hand is really nice. I'm trying to see how this might come up on camera. But essentially, I'm a little thicker right here towards that choil area, and then it swells out and then shrinks back down. So it's making something that's a lot more comfortable for my hand. And I don't think that would have been a huge issue when I was 25, but now that, I'm in my 40s, if I'm planning on using a knife for a while, I want something that's very comfortable for me to grip, but yet I also want to be able to have a firm grip while I'm doing it. So it's really all about those ergonomics. And no, that feels good. Probably not going to go much further than that tonight. But I mean, really, this is... I'm going to hit it with 220 grit sandpaper. 320, 400, and maybe 600. This one's so hard that I don't know that I need to go that high. 320 might actually be totally fine on this. It really depends on the look that I'm trying to get. And I want to compliment the Damascus that I did. But the nice thing is I can let it go for now. And tomorrow, I'll pick it up again. Yes, William, you'll absolutely blend right in. Oh. Covered in freaking sawdust. It's absolutely horrible. So what time is it? 8:11, huh? Well, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna wrap up for the night. Mainly because I'm planning on having dinner over at the club, and they close at 9. So, gotta go make my little minute and a half jaunt down the road. But, William, I hope to see you on Thursday. Jeremy, I hope to see you on Thursday. I'm sure you'll end up sending me a message later on the night anyway. But thanks a lot, guys, for watching. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Even if you did not join us in the chat, it was nice having you watch, what we were doing. And, it makes it feel like, I don't know, it's just nice to know that people are watching, that I'm not just sitting here talking to myself. So, alright, well, I will catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks again for tuning in. William, we'll see you really soon. Jeremy, we'll see you soon as well. Everybody have a great night. Just in a minute.